Hi guys. So welcome to the continuation of files chapter. I think today it's a very small chapter because we have completed most of the things related to files yesterday. So we'll just have a continuation of files in this chapter. Okay. So I think we completed 1.py. I just went through each and every functions and its operations yesterday. So here we'll work with new programs. So let me open 2.py. Okay, so what happens in this program is very simple. Basically, we are trying to read from a particular file, okay, using a while loop, right? We have a while loop over here. So what happens in this program? So basically, I have a file called as file1.txt, and this file, I open this file in which mode? As you can see, I'm opening it in read mode. Okay, so when I open this in read mode, so and if the file doesn't exist, it will give you an error. Okay, as I discussed yesterday. But in my case, I have this file1.txt. I'll show it to you. Okay, so as you can see this, I have file1.txt already existing, and I think it has some contents also. Yes, it has some contents also over here. So basically what is that we have to do? We have to read that. Okay, so I'm opening the file using open file1.txt in read mode. So once I open this file, file1.txt, what happens? This will return me an object, which is nothing but a file object. And using that file object, as we discussed today, we use this read function on this file object, and then we read one character first. So when we read one character, so read function after reading one character will actually convert that into a string and give us a string object. So basically L is a string over here. If you want to know whether it is really a string object, so how do I know that? I'll just find the type of it, okay? I'll say type of L. So you can see in the output that it would be a string. So let me uncomment all these other parts. Okay, so I just want to show you that it is basically a string. Okay, let me, instead of uncommenting each line, I would uncomment the entire code. Okay, yeah, so what has happened now is I'm just uncommenting this line, this everything, and the idea of this is now, I am opening this file 1.txt. I want to show you that after reading each character, okay, your read function will basically return a string object, right? So how do I know whether L is a string object? I have used a type function to print it. So let me run this code. I'm running this code, and you can see that the output is str. It means L is basically a string object. Is that okay? Do you understand this? Right? Okay. So then what happens is, so what am I doing now? After reading that, okay, after reading this, I will put it into one more string object. Okay, and then I am reading that string one by one. So I'll just ask using a while loop, while whatever content I read from that file, that is read one over here, is it not equal to empty? Okay, so currently in my file there is some characters present, therefore it is not empty. So the first character is not empty, so this will become true. L is not equal to empty now because I've read one character now, so it will contain the value h. Okay, so what is there in my file? First character is h. Did you see this? H. Okay, so in my case it will not while L is not equal to empty becomes true when this statement is true. Why is it true? Because L is not empty, it contains h now because I've read it from here, correct? So then I'll say while L is not equal to empty, if it is true, what is that I will do? I'll enter into the loop. So in my case, I'll enter into the loop and I'll read one more character and then again store it into L. And then what I do, I concatenate each and every character that I read from the, whatever I read from the file, right? Each character one by one in the loop. I'm continuously keep reading it. I will then, after reading it, I will concatenate it with the previous string. Previously, what it had H. Next when I'm reading the next character, it would be E, and then the next character is L. Like that, I keep reading the next character each time. Okay, and this while loop will run until I have read the entire characters from the file, character by character by character. So what happens is each time I keep reading each and every character, I concatenate with the previously read character, and it is now becoming a string, right? And then I print it over here at the last. So basically, this str will contain all the contents that I read from the file, and I'm actually printing it finally. Is that okay? Is that okay? Charan, did you understand this? Yes, no?
Sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. So let me just run this code. As you can see, this code reads every character that is present in file1.txt one by one, and then it appends to a string str, and then I finally print it on the screen using print. That is what it's doing. So this line will open the file. This is reading the first character. I will storing it into the string object. Then while we'll see if that L, the first character, is not empty. It is not empty in my case. If it is until it becomes empty. Okay, until it will become L will be the character that is read becomes empty when I reach the end of the file. When end of the file, after reading all all the characters. If there is no more characters to read, then it becomes empty. Until then, L not equal to empty will always be true, because L will not be empty. L will contain some of the other character until it reaches the end of the file. Okay, so while L is not equal to empty, then enter into the while, read the next character, then attach it with the previously read string. Okay, if it has read H, then E will get appended. Then I'll read L, that will get appended with H and E, and then again one more read, then H, E, L, L, like that. So entire string will get appended character by character, and finally I'm printing it over here, and then finally closing it. Okay, so what does this basically this close function do? I have discussed this yesterday. Whenever you open any file, the operating system will actually give us lot of resources, which is related to this, opening of the file 1.txt. Lot of resources will be opened to support the file 1.txt. Okay, once our work is over with the files, it is our responsibility to actually close all the files. When we say close, it is an indication to the operating system that no more we are using that file, and any resources that you have given for us to the programmer to make use of this file operations, you can reclaim it back and give it back. If you leave this files opened in your real project and all that, there will be a lot of file descriptors, and there are chances that when you're working on embedded systems project and all that, where their memory will be very limited, and if you have so much of files open and which is not given back to the operating system, there are chances that your performance of the program may come down. That is the reason, make sure once you open the file and your work of the file is over, make sure you close it, so that all the operating system resources which was given to your file would be reclaimed by your operating system. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, having said that, let us move to the third program. Okay, what is third program doing? Third program is here. Okay, it is actually using read line. In the previous program, we used read function. Okay, read one character at a time, one by one character. It used to read in the previous program. Whereas in read line, it reads an entire line until it reaches a new line character. Right? It will read one line, then append it to an str, and then print it back. Okay, so that is the program. So the difference between read function and read line function is, read, when you give it a parameter to it like 1 or 2 or 3, it will read so many number of characters. Whereas read line, it will read one entire line until it reaches a new line character. So how does it consider that it is an entire line? Okay, a line is considered when it basically ends with a terminate, that when that particular line terminates with a new line character, an enter key. One new line when a new line character is found, your read line will assume that as a line, and that line will be read and stored into L, and then next, it concatenates it with str. So this keeps happening until there is no more characters to read, and then finally you print that string using print. Okay, yeah. Now, having said that, let us move to the fourth program. Fourth program is again quite simple. Okay, so what does it do? Before that, okay, let me remove this file which was there. No file is there. Okay, let me make sure. No, okay. Can you see anywhere there is a file called as file2.txt? Is there a file? File2.txt? There is no file2.txt, right? There is only file1.txt. So what happens over here is that in this program, what was the program number? I forgot the program number. 4.p1. Okay, yeah. So what happens here? There are two open functions. First one, I'm opening a file1.txt in read mode. Okay, so when I'm opening a file for read mode, it must definitely be there, correct? Yeah. Then next one is file2.txt. Okay, file2.txt, I'm opening this file in which mode? I'm opening it in write mode. So even if file2.txt is not there in the file system, so what happens is that when it is not there, it will automatically create when you are opening it in read mode. But yes, when you're opening a file for read mode, it will not create. It must exist. If it doesn't exist, if this file1.txt is not existing when you're opening it for a read mode, in a read mode, then it will actually throw you an error. But whereas when you're opening file2.txt in write mode, if it is not there, it actually creates one. I've discussed this yesterday, right? So now we have two file objects. One is fp2read, the other one is fp2write. fp2read is an object which is representing the file1.txt, and fp2write is a file object which is representing file2.txt. Okay, so what am I doing now in this program? In this program, I'm reading the characters from file 1, okay, and then writing it into file 2. See here, I'm reading it. From where am I reading? Read function is I'm reading one character. From where am I reading? I'm reading into from fp2read. fp2read is what? It's an object which is representing file1.txt. So I'm reading from file1.txt. Okay, and I'll keep reading from file1. I'll be reading from this file1.txt until when I'll be reading, until the file becomes empty. There is no more characters to read. Until then, I'll be reading it within a while loop. And each time I read, I will write it. Where am I writing it? See here, fp2write. What is fp2write? Here I've shown you. fp2write is nothing but a file that it is representing a file2.txt. Okay, so therefore I will read from fp2read and write it to fp2write. Okay, fp2read is nothing but file1.txt. fp2write is nothing but file2.txt. I read from file1.txt and write it to file2.txt. Okay, now what is the guarantee that I have read from file1.txt and written into file2.txt? So the only way that I can check that is I have to now again read the second file, that is file2.txt. See, I'm opening it now. I'm opening it in read mode. If it is not there, it would give me an error. Okay, but it is there now in this program because I have created it for writing. So I have read from the file1.txt. I read all the characters from file1.txt. I wrote it into file2.txt. Okay, now after writing it, I want to cross verify. Therefore, I will open file.txt now in read mode to read whatever is there. Okay, and then I'll print it onto the screen. So whatever was there in file1.txt will now be there in file2.txt. So this is basically a program to copy the contents from file1.txt to the file2.txt. Okay, so shall we execute this? First of all, we'll see what is there in file1.txt. Okay, file1.txt is something called as hello, how are you, Subhash, what are you doing, Taj Mahal, alive, Mauli, Roy, Subhash, and Shreyas. Okay, now after running this code, first thing that you must observe is there must be a file called as file2.txt, and meanwhile, when this program, that is meanwhile this program must also read that file2.txt and print whatever was there in file1.txt. Is that okay? So let me try that. Python 3 4.py. Okay, yeah, did you see that? Okay, so whatever was there in file1.txt is now written to file2.txt, and this program read file2.txt and got printed over here. So what is the guarantee that it was created? One more way, if you can see here, file2.txt is created, and if I open that file, file2.txt, you can see all the contents present. Is that okay? Yeah, having said that, right, is that okay? Do you understand that? Yeah, okay, fine. So let me go to 5.py. Okay, so one second. Okay, so file one, what is it doing? Yeah, so it's the same thing even with 5 also. So there I'm using read function. Here I'm actually using read line function. Read is used to read a specified character which is given in read as a parameter to the read function. Here it is read line. I'm reading line by line. That is the only difference between this program and the previous program. Okay, 6.py. Okay, yeah, so we have another way of reading a file, that is using this for. Okay, so as we know that this file1.txt, what does it contain? It contains a sequence of lines. Hello Subhash, Taj Mahal, alive, like that. It has a sequence of lines terminated by a new line character. Okay, so we can use a for loop to also read that file. Okay, so when I say for line in fp to read, fp to read is representing a file. So first line from this file would be read into this line. Okay, so first line in the file fp to read. Fp to read is a line, right? I mean, is a file, right? That file is containing series of lines, no? It's a sequence of line, right? So first time when the for loop is run, the first line would be read and would be stored into this line. Then it will come here. Then it says val is equal to 1 plus 1, and then print that line. Again, it will read the second line which is there in the file fp to read, which is nothing but file1.txt. It will store it into line, and then I'll increment the val plus 1 and print the line. So when by the end of, so this for loop will be running until all the lines present in the file would be read. Okay, so why did I put this val is equal to val plus 1? To make sure how many lines are present in that particular file it is reading. Okay, so each time val is equal to val plus 1 will get executed after reading each line. Okay, so in our example, for example, we'll see how many lines are there in file 1, how many lines are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 lines are there in this file. Okay, so the for loop must run 6 times. Agreed? The for loop must run 6 lines, 6 times, because there are 6 lines. After reading each line, it will increment the value. Okay, so let me see what will happen. I'll print the line as well as finally I'll print the val also. So val must be 6 because for loop is run for 6 times, no? Reading each line at a time. So let me run that code. Yeah, can you see that? All the lines are read line by line. It is printed on the screen. And if you see the final value of val, it would be 6. Okay, so this proves that each time when the file, when you are running the for loop, it reads one line in a sequence from the file and then prints it on the screen. Okay, yeah, so vi, what is the next one? 7.py. Okay, yeah, can you tell me what does this program do? First one is, this program is basically used to find out how many spaces are there in your content of your file. Okay, how many spaces are there? Okay, so first let me see how many spaces are there. Vi file1.txt. You can see 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, 7, 8, and then we have here 9, and then we have 10. So there are 10 spaces, 10 space bars, correct? No? So this program will count how many space bars are there. So if I want to count how many spaces are there, what is that I will do? Basically, I will read each line. Okay, I will read this line, and after reading each line, I will go character by character to check if I have come across if I have encountered a space. If I have encountered a space, what I will do is I will count that space as one, and next time when I encounter a space, once again I will increment the space count. The same thing will be happening each time I read a line. Okay, so let me come to this program. Okay, so let me come to this program over here. Where is it? vi file vi 7.py. Okay, so what happens? First time is what? File1.txt. It is opening the file1.txt. It has 6 lines. Okay, now then it has say read line. It will read the first line. So what does this line contain? Line. Line will contain the first line, that is hello Subhash, how are you, what are you doing. That line would be there. Okay, and then I'll come here. So while not equal to empty, no, while is not equal, line is not equal to empty because it contains the first line, correct? Then we'll come here, I'll print that line first. Okay, I mean when I say print the line, I'll print what is the length of that line. Okay, so that is just for our understanding, what is the length of that line, how many characters are there. And then what I'll do here, I will go character by character within that line using the for loop. Okay, so range is 0 starting from len of line. If suppose the line contained only Subhash, okay, then how many characters, what is the length of Subhash? Okay, it is 7, right? Subhash, it is 7. If suppose a line contained only Subhash as a line, okay, then how many characters would be there? Or length of line, it would give you 7. Okay, so when you say range of 0 to 7, it would count from 0 to 6. Okay, so Subhash S would be at 0, you at 1, like that. So if the 7 characters are there, let me write it on the screen so that you understand. Okay, if suppose the line in the file the line was say Subhash. Okay, so how many, it starts from where? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Though there are 7 characters in this particular line. Okay, so the starting letter would be at 0, right? So that is the reason I write range from 0 to length of 1 second. You are not able to see the screen, guys? Okay, 1 second, wait. Can you see now? Can you tell me if you can see the screen now? You can see? Yeah, so let me okay, do you see that? If suppose this is my file. Okay, 1 second. If suppose this is my file. Okay, this is my file and I have a line called as Subhash here. A line called as Subhash. Okay, so how many length of this is how much? Length of Subhash is how much? So length of this line. Okay, length of this line will give you how much? This will give you 7. Okay, but it starts from where? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Index will start from 0, no? Okay, so that is the reason in the program I am using it as range of give me a minute. I'm saying range of comma length of line. Okay, so which is nothing but range of 0 comma 7. Okay, so range will generate numbers from 0 to 6. That is enough. I don't need a 7 because the line ends at 6 only over here. Is that okay? So what I'm trying to do is I will read the entire line. I'll check character by character if I have encountered any space. If I have encountered any space, I will add space is equal to space plus 1, and then I'll take the next line, and again I'll check for the spaces, then I'll go to the next line, like that. Is that okay? Did you get what I'm trying to do? Yes, no? Can you see my screen now? Can you see my screen? Yes, no? Can you see my screen? Okay, right. So here, so first file1.txt, I will read the first line. Then initially I'll make space as 0. Then until I read the entire file. Okay, what happens is I'll find the length of that line, and then it is just for our. I'm just trying to print it to see what is the length of that line. Then for each from 0 to that one, what is that length of line? Okay, so if suppose the length of line is 7, it would be this range function will generate values from 0 to 6, correct? So each time I'll take, first it will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 I take. Okay, and then I'll check if that line of 0th position, is it equal to space? I'm checking if have I encountered the space over there. If if I've encountered the space, I'll increment the space. If I've not encountered, I'll just ignore this if, and I continue reading that characters, going through that, navigating through that entire string, character by character. Once I complete the navigation of that entire string, I go and read the next line. Okay, and then again I do the same thing until I find for spaces. And if I try to print this output to the end, once the entire while loop is over, and I will see the how many spaces are there. In my program, I think it should give me 10 spaces. File1.txt. If you can see here, there are 10 spaces. Let me see if it gives me 10 spaces. Python 7.py. Yeah, did you see the number of spaces is 10? This will give you each line. 46 characters are there, 10 characters are there, 12 characters are there, 10 characters are there, 8 and 8. These are all the lines. Okay, so in each line, I'll go and check for individual characters if it is matching space. If it is not, if it is matching space, I'll increment the space, else I'll not increment the space. That's all. Is that okay? Did you understand? Very simple program, yeah. Self-explanatory program. Yes, no? Yes, no? By the way, can you see the screen? Can you see my terminal? Can you see my terminal? I wanted to. Can't see the terminal. One second. Can you see my terminal now? Can you see my terminal? Yes. Can you just check? Yeah. Okay. Did you see the output over here when I run this code? This is my code. This is my code. I read each line. Okay. File1.txt, and here I'm reading the line, and then I am if after reading each line, I'm navigating through the individual characters, and I'm seeing if the line is having a space each time, and if it is having a space, I'll increment the space. And once this is done, I'll read the next line again. I'll continue. I'll see if there is in this line, the next line in space is there. Okay, if this space is there, I'll increment it by 1 each time, and I keep doing this until I read the entire lines of that particular file. And then once the while loop becomes false, that is, if I've read the entire lines, I come out and I print the number of spaces. Okay. Okay. Even can you see the screen now? Yes. Can you see the terminal? Can you see the terminal? Yeah. Okay. So even this program is similar to the previous program, which where I'm counting the number of space. Only difference is that here I'm using there in the previous program, I was actually using readline, and then I was using a for loop, and I'm using a range function over here. Okay, so here what I do is to find the length of the line. Did you see this? I'm finding the length of the line, and I'm using a range function. Same thing. Okay, but here quite different is that I use a for loop to actually read that line. Okay, read line, and then same thing. It's almost the same program. I wanted to just go through this program line by line, navigate through it. It's quite self-explanatory. Go through this line one by one and see what is happening, and do it. Okay. You want me to explain? I can explain. You want me to explain? You want me to explain? I can explain. In the previous program, I was finding the length of the line, whereas in this case, I'll open this file, file1.txt. I'll read the first line. Space is 0. Okay. So line is not equal to empty. Yes, true. Line is not equal to empty because in my file I have read one line. Then I come here, and for each, what is this contains what? The first line that I read. The first line in that file, if there were multiple lines, this line will contain the first line. Okay, and this is basically a sequence, and you know that for loop how it works. It takes a character from the sequence. Okay, so the first character it will take from this sequence, this line. Okay, it will put it over here, and if it sees if that ch is equal to space, if it is equal to space, I'll increment the spaces, else I'll ignore this if, and then take the next character from this line, store it into ch. Then if I see if it is equal to space, no, then I'll go to the next character. So I keep continuing. This for loop will come to an end once I have read each and every character from this particular sequence. That is the first line. Okay, so once the for loop comes to an end, then I'll read the second line once again. Once I read the second line again, I'll come back to this for loop because L is not equal to empty. Then again for the second line, I'll check character by character. Then I'll see if there is any space. I'll increment the space. Then the third line, like that. I keep continuing the while loop like that. And then finally I print the spaces. Is that okay? Again, a self-explanatory program, very simple one. Okay, is that okay? Yes, no? Yeah, okay. I don't think there is 9.py. Let me see. There is no 9.py, guys. Yeah. So we have guess the output programs. Again, vi1.py. So this is one more program where the only difference is that you can see I'm now opening the file for binary file in write mode. Okay. And in binary mode, you cannot say dot write just hello directly because this will give you an error. I'll show this. It will give you an error saying that boss, I want you to pass bytes like object and not string. Hello is basically a string now. Okay, so what is bytes like object, I'll be discussing in a further class. For now, understand that whenever you're writing into a binary file, you cannot write a string like this. You're supposed to convert that into a binary format. So how do I convert that into a binary format? I've written that in the next program. 2.py. Okay, so did you see that just before hello you are supposed to write a b, so this string hello would get converted into a binary format, and then now this program will not give you any error. Now you can write it into a binary format. Okay, did you get that? Right, now let me open the previous program 1.py. Here you are opening a file in binary form mode. Okay, but you are writing it in a string. But if you want me to write this, if you want me to no, what happened when I ran this program, it gave you an error. What does it say? That I don't need a string, I need a byte size object. Okay, but if I remove this binary mode from here, then it will work. Now it is allowed. You understood the difference, no? Did you understand the difference? I wanted to understand the difference. Binary mode, you cannot put a string over there. If you want to make this work, then you have to basically convert this into binary format. That is using a bytes. It needs bytes basically, correct? Yeah. So next, coming to the third one, the other way of doing it is using the encode function. The other way of doing it is using encode. So the string will get encoded into a bytes format, and then you can actually run this code. It works. Fine. Is that okay? I think I'm done with it. So what is there in 4.py? Okay, same thing. I'm just reading it. After writing it, I'm reading it. It's the same thing like the previous program. Okay, so I have an assignment for you guys over here. The assignment is that, can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? What can you see? What can you see on my screen? Can you see sketchbook? Okay, I'll show you one second. Can you see can you see my screen now? Can you see sketchbook? Yes, no? Yeah, okay. Right. The assignment is like this for you guys. What I want to do is, you will have a file. Okay, but don't do the assignment now. I mean, Monday I'll be teaching you strings, and I think Tuesday, Wednesday you can start doing it, because this cannot be done without strings. That is the reason. Okay, so you have a series of names given, say Subhash, and then Charan. Okay, and then you have Chaitra. Like this, you have a series of name given. Okay, like this, and then you have Naresh at the end. Okay, so I want you to write a code. This is 1.txt. I want you to write a code in such a way that your program, that the code that is your program, will read 1.txt, and in the same file 1.txt, it should write it in reverse. It should write it in reverse. That is Naresh. Okay, and then Chaitra. Okay, Charan and Subhash. It should be in this format. I want you to read this file and rewrite it in this format. Okay, this is one assignment. Okay, and the next assignment is that you can do it after Monday, because Monday I'll be teaching you strings. Okay, now once this is done, one second, once this is done, yeah, once this is done, what you can do is, I want you to write a program. Okay, in your program there would be a file. I mean, I want you to write a program to read a particular file, call it as 1.txt, and this would have a lot of sentences like Subhash, okay, comma, loves, semicolon, masala, semicolon, dosa, something like this. Okay, with a tab space, and then says how are you doing, and all such kind of thing. Okay, so what I want you to do is, I want you to write a program to read this file and tell me how many words are there, how many spaces are there, how many lines are there, how many characters are there in this total file. Okay, and then print it onto the screen. You can also say how many words are repeated in this particular file, if possible. I want to make the program more complicated so that you learn more things. Is that okay? I want you to come up with this program. Is that okay? Is that okay? Will you do it? Yeah. Okay. Nice, guys. So I think we can catch up with strings or some other chapter on Monday. Okay. Until then, take care. Good night. Bye bye. See you.